What is up, Slab Stocks podcast and YouTube channel? My name is Aaron, your host for today's episode. This is our first YouTube video coming out here where it's me talking about cards, talking about investments, analyzing price trends, looking at different ways that you guys can make money in this sweet hobby and industry that we have come to love. It's a first shot here. We got a little backdrop going on. But today's episode is all about the PSA 9 versus PSA 10 of Prizm Basketball cards. This morning at breakfast, my dad had an interesting question. He was like, "Hey, Aaron, what about the PSA 9s? How are those doing compared to the PSA 10s?" I'm like, what we normally say is PSA 10's the way to go. It's the safest option to make sure you have your gem mint copy. Of course, buying non-graded, sending to Clay Cards, third-party grader, officiant. He helps you get your cards, then look at them, make sure that they're in good enough condition to go to PSA, and then, come back later, get your good turnaround, and then boom, you have a much more valuable card, most likely, hopefully, than you did when you first sent it over. That's a way to go. However, PSA 9 versus PSA 10, you can go on eBay right now, and generally you can find for a lot of the current NBA players copies readily available to buy. This is a pretty good debate we have going on here. Of course, PSA 10 is the gem mint. It's the one that collectors chase and investors chase. But there is some compelling arguments and evidence here that PSA 9 actually isn't all that bad. A lot of people make it out to be, PSA 9s are terrible. You don't want to buy them. You don't want any in your collection. Personally, I have quite a bit of PSA 9s between soccer cards and some of my Giannis and LeBron. But it's not as bad as people are saying. Honestly, in some cases, it's better from this evidence you'll see in this video. So stick around, watch the video, take down some notes. Might be some good things here for you guys to think about when investing. I will say this is all based on basketball here. So there will be another argument for baseball we can make, and we can make a YouTube video on. But this one we're just going to keep to basketball. And to do that, we're looking at 4 different players, starting with Luka Doncic, obviously 2018 rookie, superstar this year. Prices shot up a lot. We're looking at Trae Young, also from that same draft class. And then we're bouncing the 2017 draft class and looking at Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell. So that rounds out the 4 investments we're looking at: PSA 10, PSA 9. First, we're going to look at the base. As all you know, right before the NBA suspended the season, the base was just exploding. Straight up increase for Luka. It literally went from like $250 to $700 in the matter of maybe 2 weeks. It was going up so crazy, which, in the end led to a price drop. It's now down around $425, which is understandable. There's so many copies out there. A great card to buy and sell here and there and make some money on, but not one that you want to buy at the peak and then try to see if it goes higher. There's just so many, obviously we couldn't envision an NBA suspension this year, but that's what happened. And now we're down to $425 when the more stable Luka investments only down a couple $100 for the silver PSA 10s. Of course, there's numbered from there, and the numbered are doing even better than the silvers in terms of holding their value. But for this podcast, we're going to talk about the base and the silver because that is what's most readily available, the highest supply. We have good numbers to back up some of these findings. So let's get into it. The first guy we're going to look at is Luka, and we're talking about a $1,000 investment. If you were to make a $1,000 investment into the base PSA 10 at the start of the 2019 NBA season, which would have been October 22nd, you would have bought them at $75 a piece, and today that stash should be worth around $6,071 for the base PSA 10s. If you have bought base PSA 9s at the start of the season, you would have been paying $23 a piece for those, which sounds like a steal because it is now. Those are around $150 a piece today, and you'd have $6,521, which is around $500 more than if you bought the PSA 10s. So interesting thing here is that the Luka PSA 9 base has increased at a faster rate than the PSA 10 base. Same actually holds true for Trae Young. So Trae Young, you're looking at $45 a PSA 10 before the NBA season began. Today they're around $190, and that stash would be $3,770 if you invested $1,000. And then if you had the PSA 9s, you're buying at $12.50 a piece on October 22nd, and now that's worth $4,800. So obviously the PSA 9 for the 2018 rookies, Luka and Trae, have done much better actually than the PSA 10 based rookies, which is cool to see because all throughout this NBA season, I had people asking me, oh, do PSA 9s sell? Do they sell? Should I buy them? I'm like, yeah, man, if you get the right player and the player gets hot or people love him and the demand goes up, it's going to go up in price no matter what. That's what people were asking me with Ronald Acuna before opening day was supposed to happen for baseball. His PSA 9 Topps update rookies were $25. And I was saying in our email newsletter, which you can sign up for at slabstocks.com, where we help investors find buys in the on the eBay marketplace. Really good stuff there. I was helping people buy Topps update PSA 9 Ronald Acuna's at $25 a piece. And some people are like, PSA 9, whatever. But my theory is, well, Luka was able to go from $23 to $150. Why can't Ronald Acuna Jr. do the same thing? His ended up going from 25 to around 70, I want to say, at the most before opening day was supposed to happen. Probably back down to around 45 right now. Still making money if you were to sell today. But, the potential is there for these PSA 9s in the base if enough people want them, of course, which is a huge thing to keep in mind. But Luka Doncic, Ronald Acuna, who doesn't want those guys? So for the first two examples here, Luka and Trey, we do in fact have a higher percent increase in price for the PSA 9s. If you invested $1,000, you would have more if you bought the base PSA 9s. Now looking at Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell from the 2017 draft class, the script starts to flip a little bit. So if you bought PSA 9 Jason Tatum rookies on October 22nd, you're buying them at $16 a piece. Today there was $75. That $1,000 investment would be $4,688. So you are definitely dominating that investment if you bought PSA 9s. No worries there. You're making a ton of money. But if you did put $1,000 into the PSA 10s at $42.50 a piece, those are $215 today now, and that would be $5,058. So $400 more for PSA 10 base Tatums today than if for the PSA 9s. And the same actually holds true for Donovan Mitchell, which is interesting because in the 2018 draft class, we had the same thing going on, PSA 9s increasing faster. For the 2017 class, Tatum and Mitchell are increasing faster in the PSA 10 base card for Prizm than the PSA 9. For Donovan Mitchell, you could have bought PSA 10s at $45 a piece. Today they're worth $80. That's $1,750. So of these four players, he was the lowest return. But still, nice. If you're spending $1,000, you'd be happy with $1,750 from the start of the NBA season to today, especially with the market going down because these were up to $100 a piece. So definitely be happy with that. The PSA 9s went from $15 to $25, which is $1,667. So only a little bit lower than the PSA 10. It's not the big discrepancy like with Tatum. However, you have to remember Tatums are worth more, which the gap gets bigger as the cards increase in price if it increases faster, like the PSA 10 Tatum. So base is all cool and stuff. I mean, a lot of people love them now. A lot of people are investing in them just because it's easy for new investors and collectors to understand, which is why base gets so much demand. You look at red, white, and blue parallels that are way more rare than base, but they get no love. Like the Zion PSA 10, red, white, and blue is about the same price as the base PSA 10. So it makes sense. It's easy for people to get what the base is. It almost is treated as like the investment card because it's what it is. It's their first, it's their base rookie card. It's easy to trade. So with that, we want to look at the silver because we want to understand what the market dynamics are like for a more rare, more expensive card that maybe some of the old investors are buying instead of the base. So maybe you were investing the last 3 NBA seasons, you know that you should be going for the silvers because those are what people love. Silvers are going crazy the last 3 years, so you're going to buy silvers in 2018 draft class for Luka going into the 2019 season. If you were to do that, you would have bought $580. That's what they were for one PSA 10. Your $1,000 investment would be $2,931 as of today on your $1,000 investment. If you took that $1,000 and spent it on PSA 9 Luka Silvers, it went from $200 before the start of the season to $525 today. That's $2,625. Our silver PSA 10s are outpacing the silver PSA 9 for Luka. And if we just shoot right down the list to Trey, to Tatum, to Donovan Mitchell, it's all the same. PSA 10 silvers have outgained the PSA 10 silver 9s. The silver 10s have outgained the 9s, which for the base, it was a little bit of both going on. 2018 guys, the 10s outpaced the 9s, or 9s outpaced the 10s. And then for 2017, the 10s outpaced the 9s. For the silvers, every single guy, the 10s increased in price faster than the silver 9s did. Now looking at Donovan Mitchell, his cards actually, the silver, this is what really interesting here. So you could buy a silver PSA 10 before the NBA season for $300 of Donovan Mitchell. You could actually spend the same amount of money and get Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum PSA 10 silvers are worth $900 today, so that $1,000 investment would be now $3,000. But for Donovan Mitchell, those are now worth $270 today. So there was actually a decrease in price. If you invested that money with $1,000, you would have $900 now today instead of that $1,000 you originally invested. So actually, while the base went up in price, you had made money if you held until today of Donovan Mitchell base PSA 10s. The silvers, you actually will have lost money, which is really weird. It's interesting. Silvers are definitely what I would say the person who has the larger funds would want if they are experienced and stuff. But at the same time, people are starting to understand how this market dynamics are switching. People want the base, more quantity, higher increase in price percent, more money when you flip them all in the end, and also gives you more flexibility. You can sell some Donovan Mitchell halfway through the season. You can sell them in the playoffs. You can do a little bit more if you have more copies to work with. So the PSA 9s actually decreased faster. So those were 115 before the season. Now they're 95 today. Your $1,000 investment would have netted you $826 today. So some interesting things going on here. And just to go back and talk about Tatum, this is a pretty huge price gap here. So Trae Young is very close. I'm not going to go over Trae Young a whole lot. If you invested $1,000 in the 10 silvers, we're at $19.53. If you invested in the 9s, we're at $17.27. So for Jason Tatum, though, this is where we have this big price discrepancy. The silver 10s are worth $900 today now. And also the silver 9.5s, BGS 9.5, we're not covering it in this discussion, but I will say those are like $525, which is a lot less than the PSA 10s. So it might be a place to look for a little bit of a gap to fill. But these 10s are now worth $900 today, $3,000 on your $1,000 investment. For the PSA 9s, if you bought at $120 before the NBA season, those are now worth $280 today. So that would be a $2,333 return on your investment. That is, around $700 less than if you bought the silver PSA 10s. It's a pretty big gap there. If you are looking for a more stable investment, if you're looking to buy something that might not fall a ton in price, if we hit something like an NBA suspension, which no one was expecting, of course, so you're not going to buy thinking that. But the same logic applies. Let's say a player gets hurt, base PSA 10s go down faster. Team gets eliminated from the playoffs, maybe they go down faster there. But for these silvers, a little bit more stable, less price potential, I want to say, because of them on demand that goes to base now. This is all pretty new to the market to where the base are dominating. I would prefer to buy a silver. They're more stable. The prices dropped less. They probably went from, I want to say Luka went from $2,000 to $1,700 now, while the base went from $675 to $700 down to $425. So a little bit more stable, a little bit less price potential, profit margin potential to make, but the stability would be more important, especially if you're a long-term investor and just putting something away. The silver should be on a nice little steady incline over time, while the base is going to be up and down, up and down. You want to buy and sell like a day trading stock. But interesting thing here between the PSA 10 and PSA 9. Why might the PSA 9s have went up much faster for the Prizm base than the PSA 10s for Luka and Trae? All I can think about is the new people in the hobby want to get something that's cheap. They know that Prizm is the thing, and they don't want to go break the bank to get a PSA 10 base card. So they look at the PSA 9 base card, and they're like, oh, I can afford that in Luka. It's $100. I was maybe $25 before the season, but it's only $100 now. I'm going to buy the $100 one instead of the $350, $400, $450 one. That makes those things go up faster. While with Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, maybe there's just not that same demand that's coming into those cards versus the Luka and the Trae, which is why the PSA 10s might be doing better. Will this hold for, let's say, Zion or John Morant next season? as maybe those guys go off and their cards shoot up in price and whatnot. Will it hold? I'm not sure. PSA 10s, I think, are pretty tough grades for the 2019 cards. Centering was pretty bad on a lot of them. Also, even the surface, how it's printed, it was like misaligned quite a bit. So I think that we're going to be looking at really low gem rates for there, so which would mean that the PSA 10s would be worth a lot and would probably increase faster. But the PSA 9s that are centered of Zion will definitely be worth more than just a normal PSA 9 that might be off center of Zion. So lots to think about from this debate. You can go into a whole nother baseball debate based on Topps Update Series 2, Series 1 rookies, PSA 9, PSA 10. How do they adjust? I'm an NBA card guy. I love looking at the NBA market the most. I also like the baseball market, of course, but this is a really easy way to break it down quick for you. Less than 20 minutes, a little insight into the PSA 10 and PSA 9 market, how it's performed over the last season of the NBA. Of course, we all wish that the season was going right now and that it would conclude. Still to be determined. Not exactly sure what's going to go on there, but everything is still super fun in the market. It's fun to track. It's fun to watch. So, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Slab Stocks podcast and YouTube channel. We hope that you guys learned some insights, learned something new. Maybe you can go and do more research yourself now, more players, because this is definitely a player or Prizm year basis here, so you definitely need to look into it. I'm not saying to go buy PSA 9s as if they'll return more than PSA 10s, but there might be something to research and something to think about when you're making your purchases, especially if you're a budget spender. Do not shy away from PSA 9s. I know people say the PSA 9s are bad, don't buy them. Just go for it. They're already graded. People love stuff in a PSA case, especially with PSA being closed right now. Getting it in the PSA case is definitely a step above. Thank you guys for watching the Slab Stocks YouTube channel and podcast, and hope you guys join us next time.